for it tonight.
Multiple.
There you go.
We have 4, so that's just
Thanks, Jeff.
So, as I say, I represent Global Partners LP. Global Partners has a long-term lease on the property located at 26 to 28 Harvard Road in Ayer. I did copy the assessor's plan, just to give you an idea of where it is, and it's the orange highlighted site. So you may know that property as the former Maxim Industries location. Global Partners would like to locate a convenience retail center at this location. What they propose is to build a new all-town convenience store and a few filling stations. Now, many of you on this board might be familiar with this type of a project because they were before you a number of years ago for the site on the Jarvis, or called the Jarvis Upper Lot.
A couple times.
On Littleton Road.
3.
Yeah.
At least. At least.
So certainly the look of the store is going to look different, but at any rate, you understand the concept. So Global would prefer to build a project at this site because they believe it's a better location, and we believe it would have less impact on the direct abutters. 26 to 28 Harvard Road is a 6.2 acre parcel, and it's made up of the 3 parcels that are highlighted in orange on the assessor's plan. Retail stores and filling stations aren't allowed under the bylaw, and you can see that from the sections of the bylaw that I referenced in the application. However, as this board is aware, section 11.2.3b of the bylaw does allow the board to grant use variances. So unlike, in some towns we don't have the use variance, we do, and so you can grant it. So we're asking you tonight to grant the use variance to allow for the construction of a convenience store and a food filling station. Now, I know from the comments by the town planner and the economic development officer that they have some concerns about the loss of light industrial land in Ayer. In addition, they've talked about some issues that relate to design and traffic flow, and those are legitimate concerns, but those really fall under the jurisdiction of the planning board.
While you were out, let me just stop you for 1 minute. While you were out on your caucus, we discussed that.
Yep.
And what comes before us basically is whether or not to allow the use. That's it. I'm not going to debate the merits of the turning radius of the driveway or how many lights are up. And like John pointed out, the comments by the other department heads will have some bearing on what we do, what we say, what we think. But for all intent and purposes, we're not discussing how big the lot is, where you're putting buildings, or how many drive-throughs there are.
That's great.
It's strictly whether or not you can use commercial establishment on industrial property. That's what we're determining.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate that, and I know my clients appreciate that. And actually, I should introduce who's here with me tonight. So from Global is Tom Danieluk and Dino DeThomas. And then we have Jesse Johnson, who some of you probably know. Jesse's with Bowler Engineering, and Duncan Chapman, who's with Northeast Realty. So, I appreciate hearing that, and I also am aware that the Conservation Commission had suggested that you disapprove this, but similarly, the issues that they raise fall within the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. And if you approve the use variance, will be before the Planning Board for site plan and the Conservation Commission for a notice of intent.
Yep.
So what I'm asking you tonight is to base your decision, and it sounds like you've already determined that.
Just for full disclosure, I'm also on the Conservation Commission, so.
Thank you.
let's make that clear.
So the requirements that you're obligated to apply statutorily are found in Mass General Law 40A, Section 10, and Section 11.2.3A of our bylaw. And what that provides is that the board has the power to grant a variance where, and I know you're probably familiar with this, but I'll read it anyway, owing to circumstances related to soil conditions, shape, or topography of such land, especially affecting such land but not affecting generally the zoning district in which it is located, a literal enforcement of the provisions of the bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without derogating from the intent and purpose of the bylaw. So we'd like to take those requirements one at a time. First, it's our contention that it's the soil conditions and to some extent the topography of our lot that makes it difficult for a use that would be allowed under the light industrial bylaw. So Jesse Johnson's going to take you through that, explain that he's done some soil investigation there. He'll talk about what those results are. In addition, he's going to give you a sort of an overview of the proposal. He'll show you some slides of what the property is likely to look like. And after Jesse finishes that, I'll take you through the other requirements. And I think at the end of the night, I hope that you'll agree that we've met the requirements for the variance. Yes.
Sure. Again, Jesse Johnson, Bowler Engineering. If it would be all right, we do have a short, about a minute-long video that gives you perspective of the proposal for the actual building and layout that's going to fit into this neighborhood.
Yep.
It should play fine on here. I'll just give you a little background while it runs to give you an idea how Global's come to this point with this type of architecture in this facility.
Which one is the video?
It should be the only...
I don't even see the video.
MP4 Carly.
MP4.
Probably.
Oh,
Yeah.
where is it? Sorry, I can't
up.
see. Oh, this one?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you, I couldn't see that either.
Thanks, Mike.
So Global went through a lot of expense and time to do focus groups. They went all around New England, Connecticut, New Hampshire,
Does it say volume?
Massachusetts.
Sorry.
No, it doesn't,
Okay.
just stay like this. And they interviewed hundreds of different people and asked them what they would like to see in a convenience retail center. They asked them opinions on what they'd like to see for products within the center, but also how the architecture would look and what would be comfortable for them to go to. And overwhelmingly, they got responses. They wanted something more of a general store feel to it, something of a New England farmhouse architecture. So Global took that to heart, and they've worked with their architect, and they developed this prototype where you see something that you would typically see maybe in Vermont and not necessarily in this area, but they are going to be bringing these all over Massachusetts, hopefully, and in New Hampshire, in this region. And it really speaks to,
You back that up?
Mhm. I was gonna replay again.
Okay.
and that's showing you on this site actually too. So
Right.
this is the prototype they're looking at to fit in the layout that we're contemplating right now.
Get ready to stop, and I want to.
Yeah. Tell me when.
So they'll have outdoor seating areas, you see right there, big open spaces in the interior. It's not the days of the cokes and smokes, if you will, are pretty much gone. Now they want healthier food options. They want to have more variety. They want people to come in and stay for a few minutes and hang out with their friends and not necessarily just run in and run out. And this is something that would be an asset, obviously, to the community. That's a good shot right there. Kind of
Yeah,
giving
no,
an overview.
yeah.
Do you want to
So you
keep
got the
going, Sam?
cemetery on one side of you.
Yeah,
You have the,
yeah, it was moving too quick. I couldn't get it oriented. The only thing I could see
Sure.
was the canopy of the station across the street. Are you gonna leave that there?
So that's theirs as well. Then I would.
Yeah, I know it's theirs.
That would be coming down.
Commission at the
Yeah,
gas station.
that would be coming down. No sense to compete with themselves across the street.
No, I just,
Right.
okay, thank you.
So just to give you a little bit of a blow up too, and you have these in your handout, some of the architecture and the look from the street. They're very, very conscious of their layout and their prototype. They want to be able to fit in the neighborhood, even if they're abutting residential areas. They don't want it to look like what you're seeing normally, frankly, what you already have in town. I live in Townsend. I drive through here all the time. This is my commute. I would love to have a place like this that's on my way into work or way home from work that I could stop in and get something a little bit more than you typically get at a gas station. This would be literally a retail center offering a lot more choices. So given that, I give them a lot of credit for taking that attention to detail. And what they asked me to do was take a look at the soils on the site, which I did. I'm a licensed soil evaluator, and I went out and I did deep hole testing with.
This is- Can we put this up? Is that
Yes, you can put that one up. I'll put it here as well.
just for the people in the audience?
Sure. So we went on the site with a backhoe and we dug test holes throughout the site. And what I want to do when I do that is I look at soil mapping that's available to everybody, engineers or anybody who wants to look at it, that is generated through soil surveys. They're a very good starting point.
Test pits for permeation?
Well, just to see what the soil strata looks like. I want to determine how high the groundwater is, what the soil type is, because there's different classifications or grades, if you will, on the
Yeah.
quality. And see if anything else jumps out. If there's unsuitables or fill material because there's been prior development, all those things that would kind of tell us what we're dealing with if we want to do future development. The soil maps are a very good starting point because they kind of tell you what you might expect, and it's amazing how accurate they can be. And what these soil maps told me, and I try to indicate here with percentages, is that we have a very distinct drop-off in quality of soils on the site. Right to the front left corner, if you will, if you're standing at the front of the site, or the northwest corner, you have about 35%, give or take, of the good soils, the A soils they call them, which are really nice sands. You can't see the groundwater anywhere. It's ideal for septic systems and stormwater controls. But unfortunately, as you move back towards the back of the site and you go up the hill, or you go over in the region where the existing building is and the existing parking lot is now, you have a C and even a D class soil, which is the worst case condition. You have very high groundwater, less than 3 feet. You have very tight structure in the soils, which makes it difficult to site a septic system, but also any type of underground stormwater mitigation. So it really limits you of what you can do on the site to one particular region. And then
When did you do this?
I did this, give you the date, I did it in fall this year, so it was recent.
So you had a 3-foot water table in the fall?
Yes, because the way you can do, and that's why you have to go and get certified for soil evaluation, you don't need to see what the actual water level is at. I can look at the soils and the colors, and I can tell the historic high mark of that water table at any time. Because all it has to do is sit there for a very short period of time, and it'll actually change the soil colors. Same thing you do when you're siting a septic system, I have to go out and determine that same thing. So given that, that really tells us, all right, any type of development, whether it's us or anybody else coming into this lot, is going to be isolated to a very small area, essentially a third of the property that they can utilize for on-site sewage disposal and really good stormwater mitigation. The trick with that, though, is those are competing against each other. You have to have offsets from each other because they have conflicting interests. You have to have offsets from property lines, from structures, from other things. So it really starts to limit you of what you can do. What's great about this and the proposed use, retail has one of the lowest quantified estimates for sewage generation out of all of them in Title V. It's 50 gallons per 1,000 square feet. Or if you go as a straight fueling station, they go by the number of pumps that you have. At any rate, I'm showing a very over-designed leaching field if it was even up to 1,000 gallons per day, which it wouldn't be. So I'm looking at, I could easily fit a septic system up there, and then for stormwater controls, knowing what I can do for that type of soil, I can site one also, knowing with what I'm gonna have for confinement based on the building these guys wanna do, the size, where they wanna put their pumps, where they wanna put tanks. I can make all those pieces fit with this type of use. If an industrial user comes in, they have some issues. Title V actually has what they call the SIC codes, if you're not familiar with that. They're standard industrial classification codes, and they put a certain code to every type of industrial use, and they do not allow septic systems for those uses if they are generating wastewater from their production, whatever they make. If anything is generating any type of waste and it goes into the sewer, it cannot go into a septic system. They're actually forced to go into a sewer. And they specifically list that in the Title V document. So that's going to limit the amount of people that could actually come onto the site as an industrial classification and do something. I believe that was probably the challenge for Maxent when they were looking to expand. They didn't have that ability to really expand the building, expand the use, or maybe up their production because they're limited by the septic system that they can do on there.
Isn't there town sewage run down that road?
It's about if you go from where the building is around the corner and down the street, it's a little over 700 feet down the road. So you'd have.
That's damn near the rotary.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mark, is it Markham Circle that's just before
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
That's where it comes out of Markham Circle and heads towards the rotary. So that's your closest tie-in point right there. So you've got permitting issues, you've got design issues, that's a significant expense to run 700 plus feet of sewer down the road, and then it might even require a pump station if the grades don't work by elevation, to be able to dump in, depending on what that invert is at that point. And I
In
suspect-
comparison to I would expect a chambered septic system?
I would even go, these types of uses are conventional, stone pipe, really quick and easy. That type of system's there, probably a $20,000 septic versus you're in the 100,000s going with the sewer down the road. So that was something we looked at. Also related to the topography of the site, I have another slide if you can find it. It's the overview. This is a good one. It kind of gives you a good snapshot of how the building relates that they're contemplating versus what's on site now, and then some of the grades.
This one?
Second one from on
I think you might have had it there.
Currently, I think it's the,
Yeah, that was the one you were right on, I
Right there.
think.
This one or the next one?
That one.
That one right there. Concept. There you go.
Okay.
This is a good one because it shows the aerial overview. It shows the existing building right here, this large gray rectangle, the existing parking lot over in this area. Global's proposing to put the building out of the footprint of where the building is now, essentially, but also they're going to be pulling everything back and pulling all that existing pavement that's close to the wetland out of there, reducing their encroachment to the wet area, and then really just channeling, if you will, their development in a rectangle moving towards the back of the site. This is a nice layout. We know this works. We've got this type of layout with some of their other facilities. This is about a 50% impervious coverage design for the lot. That's very good for commercial use. The other significant part is as you go towards the back of the property, although it looks relatively flat around the building and the parking lot, it's deceiving because as you go up the hill, you've got about a 40-foot grade change from the road to the back of the lot. This development, as we're contemplating it now, would only require about a 10-foot cut as you get to the very back of where that pavement is shown. That would require about 160-foot offset from that back pavement to the back property line. We could leave at least a 120-foot buffer as well. You can see there now that you've got some gaps in the buffering. We could easily fill that in with plantings. Anyone else coming in would probably be a little bit more challenged to achieve this, given the fact that if somebody's buying 6 acres of industrial land, they usually want a big building and not necessarily a parking area. I can work with grades that change with a parking lot. People that come in obviously with a bigger building, they've got to have that flat building. That's going to make it more difficult for them to not have big retaining walls in the back, or maybe even excavate further towards the back to get out of that costly retaining wall. Obviously, as you go up that hill with high groundwater, putting in retaining walls becomes a huge cost expense and also a design challenge with that pressure coming back from the water. So it's worth noting that we can bring everything towards the front of the property, minimize our cuts, and work with the grades, because that topography is challenging, especially for an industrial use of any other nature. Outside of that, that's probably the highlights regarding the soils and the topography, but I can certainly address anything else after Tom completes his presentation.
You're staying with a 12-foot elevation change from front to back.
Yeah, and that works within their design guidelines. We have to hold certain thresholds within the concrete pad around the dispensers, around the pads of the tanks, around the front area. But as you start to go through travel lanes or get towards the back, we can start to go to 4 and 5% grades. We can make up that grade as we move from the front to the back, a lot better than a big building to do that.
Okay.
So the next requirement is that the conditions that we just talked about especially affect our land and not other land in the district. And in fact, this light industrial district only consists of R3 parcels. So when zoning was adopted, I think in 1972 or 73 in Ayer, Maxons were already using that property for industrial use, and I'm sure that's why this property was zoned light industrial. So here's some interesting history on the Maxon Industries. again, this condition affects our land and not any other land in the district, because there is no other land in this light industrial district. So Maxon Industries was started by William T. Maxon, who died in 2005 at the age of 98. As I say, Maxon owned this property and used it for manufacturing purposes, and whether it was in addition to the bee keeping type manufacturing, I don't know, it might have been some other manufacturing uses. But as I say, I'm sure that's why it was zoned light industrial. Sometime after 2010, Maxon Industries decided that they wanted to construct a new 25,000 square foot manufacturing facility. Now, Maxon Industries owns that land and had used it for manufacturing for all those years, but now they're located up in Devens. And you may or may not be aware that before a business can leave Ayer and locate on Devens, there's certain regulations that they have to follow. And they have to first try and find a site in Ayer. If they are unable to find a site in Ayer, then Mass Development has to send out what they call a local inquiry for space on Devens form, and it goes to all of the surrounding the Chamber of Commerce's. And it asked the Chamber of Commerce's to find out if there's any members that have a land or building that would be suitable for this proposed use. Now, if they can't find a site, it's only then that you can locate up on Devens, but even then you need a letter of support from the town, in this case from the town of Ayer. So when Maxon Industries left Ayer, they followed those regulations, and I'm just gonna hand out the inquiry form and the letter from Dave Mahar, our former economic development officer, who supported the move. And the reason they supported the move is because there wasn't any other site suitable for them. And what I would say is if the owner of that land, who had been using it for an industrial use for all those years, couldn't use that land for a more modern, larger facility, then who else is gonna come in and use it for that? Yeah, I think it supports the fact that it isn't likely that there is any other use in the light industrial that would work there, so I'll hand those out. And if you just take a quick read through it, because it does support our position, and particularly the first paragraph in the inquiry form, and then Dave Mahar's letter, which is the third page of that. Duncan Chapman is a licensed real estate broker, and he has been marketing this property for sale since February of 2014. And in almost 4 years, has been unable to find a buyer that would use this property for the uses that are allowed under the bylaw. And I'm going to hand out a letter from him dated November 4th, 2017. Unfortunately, we were able to have Duncan come tonight, and he was just going to talk a little bit about the fact that he has been marketing for 4 years, hasn't been able to find a buyer that would use it for those uses. And again, that supports the hardship requirement of bylaw and the statute. I'll hand that letter out. And then after you read that, I'll ask Duncan just to say a few words about the difficulty of marketing this property for those uses.
Good evening. So Duncan Chapman with Northeast Real Estate Solutions. And I've been the broker, as was mentioned, for a number of years on the property. Actually did work with Dave Marr on a potential relocation to try to find other buildings in Ayer at the time, so we were not successful in doing that. We looked at a number of buildings that way. But getting back to the marketing of this building, there was times where it was on for sale, mostly for lease, and the few inquiries we had from people that wanted to look at it, they wanted the whole building. That was number one, and the whole building was never available because other tenants and long-term lease commitments in the building. Those lease commitments are now coming to a close in 2018. In addition, the price to upgrade the building to code, building code, parking, roof, heating system is totally outdated, just making it pretty cost prohibitive for people to look at it. In addition, I ran a CoStar search this afternoon, yesterday, in regards to available buildings in the area. And right now there are 5 buildings between Devens and Ayer available in the 15 to 20,000, 30,000 foot range. Those buildings have been on the market for an average of over 6 months, some fewer, some greater. So the point is, there's existing buildings available in this size that are not quickly moving.
Are they zoned for commercial,
They
or
are.
are they zoned for industrial?
They are zoned primarily for industrial. Two are on Devens, 3 are in Ayer.
And they're industrial, so we're
Yes.
talking about the same thing.
Correct,
Yep.
correct. So there are existing buildings available in the same size and same zoning, as you're pointing out, that haven't moved or not moving quickly.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's our contention that the variance can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. The site is located at the traffic circle where we have cars coming from Ayer, Harvard, Devens, and Groton. It's precisely at that location that you would want the conveniences that this project would provide. If the project is approved, and I know you asked about this earlier, the smaller gas station across the street, which will belong, would be closed. And that current site doesn't offer the best traffic flow in or out, and particularly when there's a truck trying to get in there to refuel the diesel. The new site's gonna provide great traffic flow in and out and on-site. You can see the design is very nice, so there'll be a nice smooth flow once you're on the site. The All-Town Convenience Store is gonna provide a great place for local residents and workers in the area to get their smaller grocery items and get coffee, and it really is designed to be a welcoming place for a short stay, maybe talk with friends and have a cup of coffee. The project's gonna result in, I'll say tens of thousands of dollars in real estate taxes for once the site's completed. It'll provide temporary construction jobs, and once completed, the expectation is that there will be about 10 full-time positions and 8 to 10 part-time positions, all of which are likely to come from our local employee pool. There'll be some pre-prepared food, which would be subject to the local option tax, so that brings in additional revenue for the town. As Jesse mentioned, this use is going to provide a huge offset from the nearest residential abutters in the back of the property. 161 feet from the edge of the back edge of the pavement to the nearest property line. About 292 feet from the nearest structure, which would be the canopy over the diesel pumps, to the property line. And then again, there's substantial existing vegetation there. And if necessary, and I think this would probably come up in site plan, but if necessary, we could add additional vegetation. So the site has a far less impact on direct abutters than the Jarvis site. And I believe that granting the variance will not substantially derogate from the bylaw. When you look at the zoning map, all of the land surrounding the traffic circle is zoned general business. And I would say again, this site was clearly zoned light industrial because of its use at the time of the adoption of the bylaw. When you look at the purpose of the general business district under our bylaw, in section 3.3.2.2, it states that in part that the district, this is the general business district, is to accommodate automobile-related retail and service activities and are generally located on major arteries outside of the downtown area. The traffic circle really is the heart of Ayer's roadways, and locating a convenience store and filling station here certainly would not derogate from the intent of the bylaw, in my opinion. So, you know, Alan and Mark are both concerned about the loss of light industrial land, and I would say that, you know, I think that we've proved the requirements for a variance, so that's not necessarily part of the decision-making process, but certainly I understand their concerns. When you look at it's interesting, when you look at the light industrial and the heavy industrial table of uses, particularly 4.12, 4.14, 4.15, 5.1 through 6, those are all what we would traditionally consider the industrial uses. The uses are allowed in either district. So when it comes specifically to the type of industrial uses that we would think about, there's no difference between light industrial and heavy industrial in here. There are a few other odd uses that might be allowed in one and not the other, but the truly industrial uses are exactly the same. So when you consider impact of industrial land and granting use variance, you really got to consider both districts, the light industrial and the heavy industrial, because you can do exactly the same thing in either district. And as Duncan said, there is a lot of light industrial or industrial property available in the area. In fact, on Willow Road, the town rezoned back in 2006 a piece of property that was residential, and we took it to town meeting. I was involved in that. We zoned it light industrial. It's 3.2 acre parcel, and I drove by it the other day, and it's still not being utilized. So there is other land available.
Question. Are you on the town line? You are.
We are, yes.
Do you have to deal, is that Harvard? Do you have to deal anything with them?
No, so our property will be totally within here. There's no portion of our property that's going to fall into
So you don't have to deal with Harvard at all?
We don't.
Okay.
Now, Harvard did get notice of this proceeding as required by the statute, but we
Mm.
don't have to deal with their boards.
What about the butters?
So, we held a meeting.
No, I mean Harvard, we're talking about Harvard. Are any of the Harvard residents close enough to be considered a butters?
No, so that land is raw land. There's no buildings on that land. I think it's zoned agricultural residential, I believe. I didn't.
It is, and the budding owners are the Maxons.
So, prior to submitting our application, I sent out a notice, and the letter was attached to the application. I sent out a notice to all of the abutters on the abutters list saying that we were going to have a meeting here at Town Hall, and I think it was on December 11th, but it's in the application. So we sent that to all of the abutters. And the idea was we wanted to hear their concerns before we submitted the application. Unfortunately, we only had one person show up, and that was Mr. Maxon. But Lowell plans on being a good neighbor, will be a good neighbor, and this was the type of outreach we wanted to do to make sure that we heard their concerns before we filed the application. So we're asking tonight for a use variance. That's the only variance we're asking. I know with the prior site there were other requests for different variances, but we'll meet all of the other bylaw requirements. It's just the use variance that we need. And as you know, as we talked about earlier, if the use variance is granted, we have other permitting hurdles to get through. Site plan, conservation, and that board and that commission will make sure that they vet those issues that fall under their jurisdiction.
Do we have any abutters here? Pro or con? Okay.
Well,
What was that, Ian?
Valerie Belger is the abutter in Harvard, and a Maxon. She owns the abutting property with her brother Ted Maxon. So she would support the project.
There you go.
What was their name? Sorry.
Valerie Delker,
Okay, thanks.
and then the other co-owners, her brother Ted Maxon, Theodore Maxon.
Okay. What do you think, John?
Well, I think at the outset of the meeting, you said, look, we're not gonna get involved in this, and we're not gonna get involved in that. And then it was all thrown on the table. So as far as I'm concerned, it's all open now.
Well,
I mean, we went through 30 minutes of the site, the overlay, the soil, the whole 9 yards, which
Mhm.
really wasn't our purview.
Well, the
That's
soil
correct.
is correct.
No,
Well,
No,
the soil is,
but I'm just saying
Certainly,
is,
yeah.
To
You
grant
know-
the variance, the
It's a
four
hardship.
hardships.
I mean,
Soil,
you know, I didn't mean to
topography.
interrupt, but
Yeah.
no,
when we
I,
get into talking about the presentation, the soil is something we could consider.
and actually the soil is what really is the basis, is the strongest basis for our argument. I mean, we've considered topography, but
that's Conservation
well,
Commission.
no, in order to get a variance, we have to show that the need for the variance is created by soil condition, topography, or lot shape. So that's the statutory requirement that this board has to apply. So what we're saying is that we meet that based on the soil conditions and topography.
Well, according to what I read, it was just a variance for use.
that's correct.
And it really didn't really talk about that in the application, right?
Well, the application sets forth the sections of the bylaw that we're looking for.
Okay, so that being addressed. When I went through this package, I said, I didn't understand why this land was even attractive compared to the land that's already been approved, because it's going to be much more inaccessible. I mean, you're not going to have the things they talked about was the traffic and stuff, which you said you thought was all positive, but when you read through here, it's not positive at all. The other departments did not really support this.
So if I may, so out of all of the departments, police chief, fire chief, there were only 3 that were, I'll call negative. So Conservation Commission had checked the box, disapproved. However, the issues that they raised are fully within their jurisdiction and will be dealt with when the notice of intent is filed. And regardless of whether we go there or someone else ultimately goes there.
I'm not disputing that. I'm not disputing that. I'm just saying that when I read it, I did not find any real support for this. And the one that I believe relates to this board is the Office of Community and Economic Development, who has written this letter in which you addressed earlier. And they don't support it just in the fact of losing the zoning in the town.
So when I read through those things, and I've been doing this for a long time, you don't usually, and anybody can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but when boards respond, they don't usually spell out why they would support it. They check the box, the form kind of guides their response, and only if they are against it will they state why they're against it, which was what the conservation did, economic development, and town planner. But what I've tried to do, and what Jesse's trying to do tonight, is deal with those concerns. And the only concern that really directly relates to this board's jurisdiction, in my opinion, is the alleged loss of light industrial land. And what I'm saying is that that's really not an element of whether or not you are entitled
That
to.
is an element of what we do.
Well, no, but I mean, if you look at the statute,
I think that's the most relative document to the board, as far as I'm concerned, is the letter from the planning board.
The planning board or the economic development?
This one is from the town planner,
Mm-hmm.
and he said there's very little remaining developable industrial zone land in air.
so I hope what our presentation does and did tonight, and if we can clarify it in any way, is to show our whole obligation here, our job tonight was to show you why we think that industrial use under the bylaw would not happen there. And what we're saying is the soil conditions are so restricted for septic and for drainage control that you're not likely to have a user come in and use it for a use that's allowed under the light industrial district. And the best example of that is the fact that Maxon, who owned the property for all those years, if he found that property conducive to a 25,000 square foot facility on 6.2 acres. I gotta imagine he would have done it. It would seem to me that it would have been much easier to build your building on the land that you already own, rather than go through, or you already own, rather than go through the whole process to move.
That may have been a whole marketing thing. That may have nothing to do with it. That may have been just that market couldn't support that facility. I mean, that's.
You mean that he's only up on Devon, so.
I mean,
No, no,
John, you
over
can see
there.
his new factory from the old factory. If you cut down straight line of trees, you go through the rotary, 1,000 feet
Do you
down the
know
road.
if
It's
it's
the
the
new
same
maximum.
size? Is it bigger?
I mean, I haven't toured it.
I have
you
no
can,
idea.
You can see it. I mean, literally go through the rotary, head towards Devon's, not 1,000 feet down the road on your left is the new facility.
I think I read both the memos, and I think that where they point out that we would lose some light industrial, that's true. We would let it revert back to general business, commercial. I don't see, or I can't foresee, the property's been on the market for so long, and there is light industrial available. I don't see light industrial coming into town. I see it as,
We don't know what the market's gonna do in the next
No,
3
no,
to
we
5
don't.
years.
No, we
I
don't.
mean, we're talking a long-term change in the land use.
But I'm also thinking that it would be a better use than it is now.
I agree with that wholly. I mean, it's
I-
soon to
I-
be vacant. You know,
Short-term, that's probably true. But again, we don't know what's gonna happen long-term.
No.
And if these two, the town planner and the Office of Community Development both said that it would be harmful to lose the light industrial zoning, then I have to support that.
now I understand your concern, but like they brought up, this is going to have to go before the
This-
planning
this
board.
Well,
is
that's
This is not.
really irrelevant.
Right, but that's essentially
This
what I'm
is,
saying.
this is on us.
I-
We're the last gasp as far as the land use permit and changing it from industrial to commercial. I mean, the other departments aren't gonna look at that.
right.
They're gonna look at the traffic, they're gonna look at all the other things that these departments talk about. But this is on us.
Mhm.
So, John, if I can try and answer those concerns. So, when you read the economic development of the planning administrator, planner, yes. They didn't even check the box disapprove, they checked the box, I think, modification or modifying. And
They check the big box. That's a
Right.
big box, right there.
No, I don't disagree with you. That it's important to maintain light industrial land in the town of Ayer. But what we're saying tonight is that when you go to the statute, the obligation that this board is required to follow, 48 section 10, it tells you exactly what you need to consider when granting a variance. And what we're saying is that we've met that. The soil conditions are not conducive to an industrial use. The fact that it's been on the market for 4 years supports that. The fact that the Maxons move support that. But even if you say, well, maybe it was marketing, maybe they wanted to relocate, Devon's has an obligation to protect our town and the other towns that abut it by not taking their industrial base. And so whether you think the Maxons might have decided this for a marketing reason, Devon's, they couldn't find a site. They had an obligation to find it. They had the Chambers of Commerce assist them. Now, if somebody came back and said, I have a site that would suit you in the town of Ayer, Dave Maher never would have written that letter. So those protections are built in when Devon's became the economic development area that it did, so that they wouldn't suck our businesses out of town. So, I mean, I really think that that's the strongest evidence that this site is not suitable for a use under the light industrial regulations. The rest of the body of their concerns really dealt with traffic flow, design, and that's all within the jurisdiction of the planning board, which we are absolutely going to have to satisfy under the site plan.
So there's 4 of us, has to be 4 for 4, right?
Correct.
If I could just add as well, it seemed, in my opinion, that a lot of the comments that came from the economic development office and the planner were related to planning, but they were also probably gauging whether this would be more detrimental to the neighborhood than a light industrial use. And I would certainly argue that the proposed use, and which is why I went into a little bit more detail about the architecture, about the limit of the development, about the buffering and the screening, those are things that we know we can accommodate with a project as proposed that typically light industrial or industrial users cannot accommodate as well as we can. We can be much less detrimental to the neighborhood, in my opinion, than an industrial user. Yeah, if you poll most residences, would you rather have a retail, commercial neighbor, or would you rather have an industrial neighbor? I would think you'd rather have this if we can control all things. But I think that's what they were getting at, and I can certainly say with confidence we could solve all their issues that they brought up. They were all solvable.
Okay. I want to hear the other members of the board's opinions.
Jess, what you think?
Um,
Bear in mind what table you're sitting at.
yeah.
You can give them hell at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Although, where I was thinking there was a slight little overlap would be, this would be a change of use of the land. I'm assuming you'd have underground storage tanks, fuel tanks for this site.
Yes.
And are you, like, when you close the site across the street, what'll happen to the tanks there?
Remediation. They have to, it's remediation. They gotta
Right.
dig them up.
Dig them up and remove?
Yes.
Okay, so, okay, because I was concerned with the idea of changing this use and then adding a permanent change to the land because of this use change, and then leaving a similar permanent change on the other across the street.
No, that would all have to be decommissioned. The
Okay.
current code requires you, and the tanks today for fuel storage are incredible. They're double walled, they're inspected more than you could even imagine. There's so many fail safes in them. It's not like the old gas stations. It's a completely different animal in today's day and age.
And can I just ask, with the groundwater being high, how deep can you sink the tanks?
So we have the tanks sited in the area with the better soils.
Okay.
But even with the groundwater being high, they have ballast options where they can tie them down.
They pour an anchor and then strap the tank to keep it from float. Because
Right.
when the groundwater comes up,
Buoyancy.
it floats.
Yeah.
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 Michael?
Well, I mean, a few things. This letter, from Dave, Mahar, the idea that Max had moved, I hadn't even considered any of that before tonight. They bring up the soil, all of that. My concern here is if we don't do something with this land, it's going to sit vacant. And if there are 4 or 5 other light industrial options on the market, this one is easily, well, I don't know that, so I shouldn't say it's the least marketable because I don't know that. But you look at all the check marks that this place would need, it has to come up to code. That building, it's dilapidated when you drive by it. The other thing is how many of these meetings have we had with Global where this room wouldn't be big enough for all the people who, want to come and voice their opinion. I realize that they've already had a meeting where people could go and have that opportunity, but I mean, tonight, there's no opposition from,
That hurt.
honestly, because when we did have these hearings and people came,
From
we would consider
the
all
other
that.
one next to-
From Jarvis,
That's
right?
right.
I mean, you
There
remember
was
that.
a bunch.
There were people in the hallway.
Yeah.
So I consider that too. That at least tonight, there's no one here opposing it right now. I realize that the concerns with the planning, conservation, everybody, that's all going to have to be addressed,
Yeah.
and that's why I take solace. In my opinion, I'm for this. That all of that is going to have to be addressed. It's not something that they can just skip over. I mean, planning will, probably give them hell. The Conservation Commission, will make sure that every, T is crossed and I is dotted. So, that's my outlook on this. I'd like to see something be done with this land. And again, where we've been doing this, I think I've been on this board since 2013. My first meeting, these fellows were here. 7 o'clock meeting didn't get out till almost midnight. It was at the fire station.
At the fire station.
Full. It
Yeah.
was,
I remember that.
So they've clearly done, in my opinion, their due diligence, the work. There's no public opposition tonight. And And hopefully, they don't come back with a bunch of variances for different things, but they may. I mean, once this goes to site plan review and all that. But in this case, this situation, I mean, I'm for it.
I personally don't have anything against it. I think it's a good idea. I think that I would prefer to see a commercial property versus an industrial property over there. The potential for issues on a site are substantially higher on an industrial site versus a commercial or gas station. Spills not being withstanding, of course, but I'm in total agreement with it, John.
That being said, I make a motion to approve the application of Global Partners LP for use of variance to allow for the location of a retail convenience store and filling station.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Thank you very much, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Tom. Your thumb drive. So you want to just,
Yep.
it's the top one. Thank you so much.
I make a motion, we close the hearing
Sure.
for Global.
John had your second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next item. Thank you. Next item on the agenda. We have an inquiry. What do I do with it?
You can come up.
Good evening. We had an inquiry, yes, there it is, about a parcel of property. I'm looking for it.
I have a letter here. You need
Okay.
it.
Okay. As I understand it, you're just asking if this is possible?
Yes, this is why this is like an informal meeting, because before I spend money do the next process, so I would like to know if it can be possible. On 2000, I bought duplex house in 35 Perry Street, and I have like a big space next to my house. I would like to know if it is possible if we can divide my lot, and maybe I can build in like something small for me. Now the apartment that I have right now is like a little bit for me, because my children, they already left and all those things. And I would like to stay in Ayer. I have been here almost a little longer than 20 years. And everything that I'm looking around, something smaller, is super expensive, and there are in no very good conditions. So I would like to know if that's possible.
So you want to subdivide the property and put another house on it?
Just a little house for myself.
How big's the property?
I just
I'm
have
not
this.
comfortable with that. I mean, if we start talking about frontages and square feet required and all that that's not without a hearing.
And we're getting into dwelling units like we were.
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, if I may, so
Please.
Diana had come to see the building commissioner, and he ran the lot figures with her. If she were to subdivide, and obviously she would need an A&R through the planning board, she would need a 12-foot frontage variance. Everything else would be in compliance. Now, this is not granting by any means. If she needs a variance, she has to go through the process, but understanding that there's a financial hardship, and to draw up plot plans and apply for a variance is at least $1,000 to come sit here to see if you guys will grant it. So she, similar to what Mr. Gibbons did in December, just to informally discuss the process, before she goes and has a plot plan drawn up, she wants to, you know, if there's vehement opposition to a 12-foot frontage variance, she won't proceed. But Charlie looked at the lot, what she needs to do, and he suggested that she come here just as a general discussion, what she wants to do and what's required. Everything else as far as setbacks, it would be a frontage variance for 12 feet. You're welcome.
So if I understand this correctly, you want to know if it can be done.
Yes, before I go to all the process. That's like she explained, because I spoke to the builder. He told me for some holes, he said no. So the only people that they can approve is are you. So that's why he asked me to request for informal meeting.
I mean, I'll say for me, a 12-foot setback, frontage setback,
Frontage requirement.
right, that,
Instead of 100 feet, it'd be
it certainly wouldn't,
88.
it certainly wouldn't be something I wouldn't consider, but it's, you
You gotta
know,
put-
personally, it's hard for me to position this. where-
We can't say yes, we can't say no, because we don't know. We don't have enough information. The only thing we know is that you're telling us that the only thing that's different is a frontage requirement. But you have to do you have to do the plot plan, you have to do the layout. We have to look at this and determine where your house is, where you want to put the place, what the setbacks are. I mean, it's not some, I mean, they went through a lot to put something together like this, and I understand it's expensive to do that. But by the same token, we just can't say, yeah, go build a house there. It's okay, just put a smaller driveway. No, it doesn't work that way. We have to know, I mean, we're not opposed to it. We would look at it. Can we grant it? I have no idea.
It's more than frontage, it's making two lots. We don't know what the size of these
We,
lots.
we don't, that's correct. We don't know
We don't have any
anything.
information.
All the thing we have is your letter, and, you know,
If you don't mind, I got the size over here. This is the
Yeah.
size.
So the size of the lot, 16,549 square feet.
That's less than half an acre.
So again, informally, when she met with the building commissioner, and these are just based on rough estimates, and Charlie was a builder for
Right.
50 years
So
or
the
something.
16,000,
Yeah,
that's the existing lot now?
yeah.
And so now we're gonna make it two lots at 8,000? And what's required,
Yeah.
20?
Yeah, again, so without having any, and this is an informal, this is by no
Right.
means a public hearing, but before she went and did up the drawings.
And I understand
yeah.
that, but I need to know exactly what we're looking at. We're not just looking at a frontage, now we're making two lots that are non-conforming, both with non-conforming, you know, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
whole can of worms to sit here and say, well, you know, we'd likely approve that, or.
I didn't suggest that.
I understand
Right. Oh,
that,
yeah, no.
but I'm just trying to be careful.
Yeah.
Because I don't want her to leave thinking that
She
we
goes and
support
does that, we're gonna approve it. You're right.
Because I-
Without
Is it
some
general
plot plan.
residential?
This is A2.
I agree with John. You know, my concern is that, you know, where you've mentioned the financial cost of preparing these plans, I don't want you to get the impression that we can really make that kind of determination tonight, because I realize $1,000 to prepare plans like this is very expensive. You know, we're
Minimum lot area is for a single family is 12,000.
Okay,
Conversion of 1 to 2 family is 24,000.
okay,
And it's
so now
already
you're talking
two-family.
about two lots at 8.
It's 2,000. It's 2 family now.
Already said it's
You said it's a
currently
duplex, didn't you?
duplex, right?
But you want to make two lots.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
already non-conforming.
Correct.
Right. You'd be making
If you're going to make two lots with two separate houses, you're going to sell that other lot?
No, I don't want to sell.
You want to rent that other house?
Yeah, I don't want to sell. Or can I do something else? It's like, I would like to know what the options I can have it. Because it's really like a big space next to my house. So that's,
I mean,
I would think a duplex is the answer, but
She has a duplex.
and we've come into recently, we've started talking about multiple buildings within a lot.
Yeah.
And it's something that we're continuing to work through, but it's, as of right now, most recently when someone came and had an idea to do multiple buildings with dwelling units in them on a lot, it didn't pass. So I guess I would say that, before you draw up these plans and spend the money. Again, we're all here, and if you do submit these plans, we're going to hear it. We will obviously have the public hearing. The public will have their input, so your neighbors will be able to come, and maybe if they support you, they can help. But again, you have to convince
It's a
4 or
risk.
5
so it has to
people.
do the plan. Okay.
And again, I just don't want you to have the impression that tonight we can say yes or no that we.
It's
would be
more
able
than,
to
I
approve
think
it.
it's more than just a frontage. I think that we're
I do
looking at
too.
lot sizes.
we are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because at 16,000, if you go and this is for an A2, that's 12,000, so that means she's got 4,000 foot left. And that's not gonna work.
And is that with the single family,
Not
or is that
unless you
with the
make two
duplex?
eights and
Sam?
make them both non-conforming.
Yeah,
Is that with the single family or the duplex?
it's a single family.
Because
It's-
she's got a
and
duplex
She's
already.
got a duplex,
That's
well, it's
what I'm saying.
non-conforming, because that's
That
24,000,
makes
so
it
you can't put
considerably
another building.
non-conforming.
I don't want a duplex.
Yeah,
I don't
no.
want a duplex.
No, I mean, I'm saying currently.
You have a two-family house now, though, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
You're not gonna, two-family is 24,000 square feet. You don't have any more, you run out of land about 8,000 feet ago.
Right.
So, I don't think so. I don't think it'll work, to be honest with you. I really don't. You got 2 strikes against you already. You
That's
get,
what-
your lot size is too small, and you don't have the frontage, all right? We can deal with 1 or 2. The lot size is a big one. That's a problem. Because you have to have a certain lot size for the two-family house you have. We can't just say, okay, 16,000 square feet, we're gonna divide it in half, because it might run the line right through the center of your house. So you can't do that.
Well, but it's still gonna be one piece of property, right? So at the other meeting, it was what? What was it for the first dwelling and then an
It was
addition?
10.
It was 10 for the first and then 8 for the second?
Yeah,
But that was a different zone, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was
That was general residence.
general
So what is
residential.
it? So
I'm
what-
looking at A2. She's an A2,
Yeah, so what is it there?
12,000.
For the first and for the second building on the same lot? Because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Let me get over it. It's in 5, I think.
512.
Yep.
So resident A2 is 12,000 square feet, 1 family, 24,000 square feet, conversion of 1 family to 2 family.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, she's got two-family there now.
Right,
Right, but we're looking at a second dwelling on the lot.
right.
No,
I
I think she
saw,
wants to subdivide the lot.
Correct, so she's got 2 buildings on it.
she can't, I don't think she can subdivide it. I don't think she
She would
can.
need a variance for square footage then, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now think about that though, because just because it's a 16,000 square foot lot doesn't mean you're gonna have 2 non-conforming,
It wouldn't
because
matter anyways, because you even if you divided it right down the middle, hell, even if the house is on 4,000 square feet, she needs 12,000, right? So she would just make it, and that's assuming the house is only on 4,000 square feet. I don't know. I haven't seen the house.
I don't know either, but
That would have to be
that's just
perfectly
it.
positioned.
You know, otherwise the
concerns me.
property line's gonna go through the house.
Right, and that's what concerns me. Is
Yeah,
that, you know,
so I really don't think that's gonna fly. I really don't.
Well, it's, plot plan, it's hard to.
Well, yeah, I mean, if she wants to go do a plot plan and lay it out, that's entirely up to her.
Yeah, so you would be able to go to one of the engineering firms, tell them what they're looking for, and what you're looking for, they would draw it up, which we would need to consider it when, notify the neighbors and put it in the newspaper. It's just, we can't do a formal application without that plot plan. Yeah, so that's a risk, or business decision.
Right,
You gotta
It's a
that's
make.
what
financial.
that's what I
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah.
What I have to do next. I know sometimes for win you have to lose, or you have to lose something.
Yeah.
But at least that's is that the only way that I can find out.
Right.
So if I have to do it, so I do it.
And I appreciate you doing that as well, because we'll have a lot of people come here who don't consider, even, I don't mean asking, but we appreciate that you've come before us and at least, made us aware of what you're thinking about.
No, yeah, that's what I say. That's important, and I came over here for information. What do I need to do if you guys have any decision? If I had to lose like $1,000, okay, I don't have $1,000 under the table.
Right.
But if I can do something later with that, and I didn't never find out, so
But you're talking about making an investment about building another house on the lot.
I just wanted maybe like a single house for me. Right now, I rented the second floor,
So,
and my apartment is
so
huge.
in
for
order
me.
not to have to go for a variance and all that, why not just modify the building you have? Make one apartment smaller and the other unit bigger.
Can I do that?
You can remodel,
Can I do
right?
like an addition? But the thing is, I think
It's already 2 apartments, right?
yeah, on the top, on the bottom.
She can remodel that,
She can do
right?
anything she wants inside the walls.
And then,
Just
any-
depend on
the
Charlie.
walls,
Yeah.
inside. What about if I
Inside,
wanna
you're not
do-
doing anything, well, I don't know.
If you want to expand the property and make it bigger building, you would have to go through the same process that you're just talking
Okay.
about. But if you you're going to invest money either way, either building a house or whatever. But if you take the 2 apartments and make one big, one small, maybe take half it downstairs for the smaller apartment, and they could have a kitchen downstairs and their living space upstairs or whatever, and do it all in the building you have.
You
Make 2
can
apartments.
change the inside of that building any way you want to.
I think that would be,
Can you change 2 apartments to 3 apartments?
inside the
you
building.
would probably need
Right.
square footage, right?
You need square footage.
Or can I have it like an addition? Because the thing is, right now I am 52 years old, okay? So it's like, I see that one like an investment too.
Mhm.
If I can use that piece of land, because it's big, maybe to do an addition, or maybe to do an another small property.
You probably could do an addition depending on the plot plan,
And
on the
here,
layout of the land.
here's the problem that you could run into. Right now, based on the zone that you're in, your house is already, it's a pre-existing non-conforming home. Because you don't have the right amount of, if somebody wanted to build your house right now, they couldn't build it on your lot, because you don't have enough square footage. So, your house is already non-conforming, so what you could run into with an addition, outside of frontage and all those other issues is that, you're already non-conforming, so coming before the board, someone could take issue with that.
And I don't see anything for conversion from, I see 1 to 2 family.
1 to 2,
not
but nothing go 2 to 3 or 2 to 4. I haven't seen anything. Pardon?
He's ordered under multifamily. There's no 2 to 3, they call it multifamily above 2.
It's already 2.
Yes.
All she's doing is making one smaller than the other.
Right, but I'm saying as a permitted use in A2, there's no multifamily dwellings
Oh, really?
that I'm seeing.
The other thing I think that if you were thinking of doing the expense, would be well worth your while to get a feel for how your neighbors, the abutters, would respond to changes. Is it-
I have a very good relationship with my neighbors, but you never know
Right.
in this case. So the only way that we can figure it out is doing what you guys asked me for.
Right.
So
And Diana, I think you could work just based on a lot of these that I've seen with an engineering firm, tell them what you're looking for, and they can lay it out for you, They take your survey of your lot and lay out where the existing building is and what's,
There is anybody in the town that they can do that, or
No.
I have to find out on
Yeah, you
different
would-
engineer?
yeah, it's an engineering firm. There's some in town, some right outside of town, no one here in the town hall though. You need
Okay.
to hire an engineering firm,
Okay.
architect, engineering. So if you want, you probably could go see Charlie tomorrow and get either a vendor list or people that would do that. And that, I really think you definitely need that to get on any process, no matter what you're gonna do.
No matter what I'm gonna do, even an addition or even on.
Yeah, right.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much, Diana.
Thanks, Diana.
Thank you, have a good night.
You too.
All right.
Was there a public meeting on the zoning
It was
bylaw?
postponed because of the weather, and the consultant was coming in, so they postponed it last time.
Okay. When is it?
Next week, at 7:00.
Okay,
Okay. Motion to approve
meeting minutes for
Of December
December 20th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Done. Next regular scheduled meeting is February 21st.
Nothing yet.
Okay.
But it's like we have an extra week, it's along how the weeks fall, so I still got like a week and a half before.
You're not gonna be here, are you?
No, I'll be here. I won't be here at the March meeting.
Oh,
But I'll
March
be here
meeting.
before to get it all squared
Don't
away.
accept any applications for March.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll have it all put together for you.
All right.
All right.
Next, not last,
Make a motion to adjourn?
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.